This is my first Ignite presentation. I've got an interesting story about how administrative data can be useful, but you better know what you got, and sometimes the data isn't everything you thought it was. So Minnesota is an average-sized state with 5.3 million people. You know us from Minneapolis, St. Paul, but only a little over half the people live there. The rest of the people are scattered around the state, and the question is, how are they doing? It's a hard, tough thing to get on top of. One of the things we did a few years back was to go out and use Dun & Bradstreet data, count the number of businesses, and come up with a rank order. It turned out to be by size, but the number of businesses in every one of those cities. It's a royal pain, and so better to use a different data source. The real question is, are small towns dying? On the left is a little town of Foxhole with 116 people and getting smaller every day, and on the right is Faribault, Minnesota, 23,000 people, and it actually looks like a place you might like to visit. The trick is we thought, let's try to use sales tracts data to find out how quickly things are moving up or down. Sales tax has been around since 1967. The data by Department of Revenue is geocoded by cities, and we've got two different data sources. So here you get a sense of the sales tract actually does tend to track the state and the national economy, with peaks in 2004, but pretty good drop since then in the order of 12 to 14%. The first data set is for cities over 5,000. We only had 48 of those. We looked at the sales, we didn't have to worry about sales tax. We broke them into classes. The general conclusion is that cities across Minnesota are doing pretty well. Do that by looking at, so here are the cities, the first three ranks in that table I showed you before. Turns out every one of these cities has a Walmart. Except for the one on the Canadian border that only sells batteries in freezing weather. I'm going to come back to this little town of Montevideo on the left because something goes bad with them. Over the long term, we've had this data set since 1990. The bigger cities are doing better than the smaller cities, right? 100% growth in the big cities, well, it's only 4 cities, but by the time you get down to those smaller cities, much smaller rates. We only got 13 of them. Look at this if we look at the short term. Half of those 4 cities, the big cities, are growing, but the other half are not. And it's pretty uneven. It actually looks like it might be a little better down in the order 5, and I can't tell about level 5 because we only had a few cities in it. Now we use a different data source, one that only gives us sales tax, doesn't give us actual sales. And with this, we've got data that goes down to cities over 2,000, we've got 130 of those cities. And by golly, if we use that data set, it turns out in that first measure we picked up 2 cities that were under 5,000 but are actually pretty vital. They've got the sales that show that they should be up there. Park Rapids and Sauk Center, which as you know is Main Street, St. Clair Lewis. Here are the cities in the levels 4 and 5. We're staying outside the metro area, and you see they're pretty well scattered around the state. Look at what's going on here. Now we've got more data for these level 4 and 5 cities. It turns out over half of them. The biggest, at level 5, we've got more than half the cities growing. And things not going so well at the top, with Duluth not doing so great, with St. Cloud not doing so great. Cities that you may have heard of, but maybe aren't doing so great. Here's one of these smaller cities, Le Sueur, level 4, the one with the Jolly Green Giant. I call your attention to this retail and business sales expo that they've got going on, trying to kind of gin things up in their city.
Well, only $3.67 for gas. You should have brought some out here.
This last year. So the policy conclusions are, in the long run, invest in the bigger places. In the short run, who knows? We don't know if we've got a new trend or just different data sets, and the issue is to kind of keep monitoring. So that's the policy stuff. Now we're into the metadata. What do you know? Well, it turns out that not everything is taxed. Food, clothing, services, machines are taxed, but then rebated. There's inflation to keep track of, and so on. The 5,000, 2,000 city thresholds miss a lot of good cities. And then we've got problems with the data. It needs a lot of, it was not prepared for policy work, right? It was just prepared for reports, and nobody's ever looked at it until I did. Come down to the bottom one here, the city of Montevideo, in 2003, 2004, up through 2008, the Walmart store was inside the city limits. They geocoded it wrong in 2009. They lost $1 million in tax revenue. They got problems with their data. So look at these 3 different measures. So we got different signs depending on how that happened. That was not fast, wasn't it?
Time waits for no man.
So Fairmont either lost or gained 19% over time, who knows. So it's good stuff. Be careful what you got. Provide feedback. Go back to the people. Don't just gripe about it in public. Tell them what's wrong with the data and help them fix it.